Hey guys, thanks for coming back to my channel. It's Kevin here, and I've got another, I guess what you would call pre-fall content before we really start to see new drops, brand new product from the candle companies for 2024. And yeah, it does start in June, so I know that's really early for a lot of people to talk about fall candles. Heck, even Yankee Candle started it in May, so late May they started putting things out. I've seen a couple of hauls here on YouTube from Yankee Candle. Bless your heart if you're still buying Yankee Candle. I feel for you. I might be there one day with one of these candle companies that I feature on my channel. Who knows? I might be sitting here saying that about myself, looking back on my videos. But we're talking about HomeWorx and their best fall candles from last year. So none of this is new product that I have here that I'm talking about. These are all brand new candles that came out last year. So these are my top 5 brand new fragrances that came out last year. They had to be new as of last year. So that's how you make it into this top 5. I felt like HomeWorx actually did really good as far as their fragrances go last year. There were other things that kind of got in the way of that, and we'll go more in depth on that as we go into this video. And I guess as other channels are kind of putting out a lot of SAS stuff, that's one thing you'll probably never see on this channel is an SAS haul. It just doesn't do it for me. I burned over 50 candles this spring. The last thing I'm really looking forward to doing is buying more of that stuff. So just because it's on sale, that really doesn't affect me at all. Trust me, I'd love to see sale prices all year around, but I'm not in a hurry to buy things that really I've already experienced before. I'm well past that. I know a lot of people that are still at that place and still into that. That's not what I'm doing though, unless maybe a fall fragrance here or there. But as far as that goes, SAS really does not affect me at all. So we're gonna talk fall candles. It's the anticipation, looking forward to them. It's the kind of build up, the excitement. That's what I've noticed from a lot of you guys. And just from the comments on my channel, I can tell you guys are just as excited as I am to talk about fall candles and looking forward to them dropping. I know my first haul last year for fall candles was June 18th. So that's about a week away. Guys, we're gonna see fall candles here drop at any time now, any day now. When I came back in the summer of 2022, it was in large part because of HomeWorx. And they had 2 pretty big drops for fall candles that summer, first and foremost, before they did anything with QVC in Christmas and July. They had 2 big fall drops in early June. I was like, whoa, what's going on here, HomeWorx? You guys don't ever do things early with fall candles, but they did in 2022. But last year was a whole different story. They kind of let Christmas and July really manipulate things. Of course, they're contractually obligated by QVC to kind of have their strings pulled a little bit. And so while the other candle companies were head first into fall right now, and even early July, I remember a lot of Halloween candles even being put out in July, HomeWorx was over here just kind of singing, dreaming of a white Christmas. And they were really manipulated by QVC because of Christmas in July. And I was just like, hey, HomeWorx, hello, McFly. All these other candle companies are diving into fall candles and you guys are just sitting back talking about Christmas. That was one of the major things that really affected HomeWorx last year, was it seemed like everything was kind of held back a little bit and they really weren't getting into their fall stuff until later than everybody else. I know Kringle and Goose Creek, especially Bath & Body Works, was really up and ready to go. Maybe even some of these fall candles might be news to some people watching this video. But let me tell you, they did a really good job, sneaky good job last fall. I say fall, but last year around this time. And sneaky good because I think a lot of people might have missed it. You might have blinked and missed some of their releases, especially a few of these candles which came out later during the season, which I want to say were maybe Thanksgiving drops or for that time of year. They didn't happen around Thanksgiving, but maybe early October for some of these. So they were later in the season. So because of that, I think a lot of people might have missed them, but they might have ended up being my #1 fall candle company last year. And that's why I'm excited to talk about them right now. I mean, I guess I could be talking about the hugely overpriced reserve candles from Kringle, which I want to say are about 35 bucks a pop. I mean, are people really interested in those right now? I mean, is there really a fan base for those candles? I've seen a lot of strong push from some YouTubers, you know who they are, that really want to kind of push Kringle down your throats. But they look about as boring as watching paint dry from what I've seen. But boy, they really do seem to get the hype going on those. I just can't bring myself to do Kringle, especially this time of year. I mean, some of those fragrances just look terrible, but I don't know, they're being really hyped up. Here I am having to make the really tough Sophie's choice. Should I talk fall or maybe dive into Kringle's reserve candles? It was tough having my arm twisted, but we're gonna talk fall, I guess. When it boils down to it, that's what I'd rather be talking about. That's what I'd rather be sharing with you on this channel. Okay, let's get into this top 5. No particular order, except for my #1 release last year. Now remember, the one caveat is it had to be a brand new fragrance last year for HomeWorx. And we're gonna start off with this one. You guys know I love my apple fragrances, and that's gonna be a huge influence on this list. The first one right here is Sugared Apple Churro. This was a great one, guys, and I don't think there was really a lot of talk about it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I think I've seen a lot more hype around fall candles from HomeWorx in past years. Last year just was not it. The notes on this one are warm apples, cinnamon sugar, vanilla caramel, and toasted churro. This is kind of that classic apple cider donut. I think I even remarked last year, I'm not sure why they named it this, other than maybe just try to kind of get that name spruced up some. I noticed that with a couple of these candles and even some of their other fall candles last year that are not going to be in this list. This is a great apple cider donut, guys. I mean, we've seen this kind of before from Bath & Body Works with their old-fashioned cider donut, which I talked about here recently in my Bath & Body Works video. I would actually consider this a little bit better version of that. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's not really something, though, that we've seen before from HomeWorx. I mean, they have their hot cider donut fragrance, which really doesn't have a huge amount of apple in it. And this one absolutely does. All things being equal, I feel like this is actually the better fragrance. I don't know how well a lot of people had this one throw, though. It was a very medium throw for me. But it's just such a juicy apple with that very noticeable kind of fried donut. Now, not as greasy as something like Cinnamon Sugar Donut from Bath & Body Works. No, not at all. This more focuses on the apple. I actually think this would be a great candle to burn in conjunction with HomeWorx's hot cider donut, because this really does kind of make up for the lack of apple in that candle. But yeah, starting the list off with this one, Sugared Apple Churro. That was a really nice one, and one that actually took me by surprise a little bit. I thought maybe that might go in more of a churro direction, but it's a really nice kind of apple cider donut. And the next one, the only one I have here from their Halloween drop last year, which I felt like a lot of their Halloween candles really struggled with throw last year. This was my favorite one, and again, we have another apple fragrance. It's Poisoned Apple. Now, I know a lot of people considered this one very basic, and it probably is, but I'm just such a huge fan of apple fragrances. I could not include this one in this list. Now, a lot of you might remember this one last year, Palo Santo Pumpkin. This one did not make it in this list. That's actually my backup because I purchased 2 of that candle last year when I first hauled it. Probably won't make that mistake again. This one right here, though, was one of their huge underrated candles. that they had come out last year for their Halloween drop, Poisoned Apple. Very straightforward, kind of sugary sweet, just like you would smell at the state fair. Glazed candy apple, roasted pear, white musk, and forest woods. I don't really get anything dark here from this, so forest woods, not a lot. It's really just kind of that candied apple that you would get at the state fair. Very sweet. And yeah, it does smell very candied, so glazed candy apple. That really does come through with this one, Poisoned Apple. Now, I know with that name and even the forest woods note, maybe the white musk, somebody might think of this one as, oh, is that going to be a little bit of a darker take? Maybe a Halloween apple? No, not really at all. It's not very challenging at all. It's just really nice if you're an apple fan, but Poisoned Apple, that was a good one last year. And the next one, this is the start, of the candles that got released later in the fall season, which really did a huge disservice to the fragrances themselves. I felt like they were really nice. They just got released way too late. And kind of in my eyes, they were more of maybe a Halloween or even Thanksgiving drop for HomeWorx, which to me was way too late in the season. People were already very excited about Christmas candles. I'm not one of those people. I don't get started in on Christmas too early. I can't do it very early. This one right here, this was another great one. None of these can be found on the website right now. Maybe the last one I talk about. We'll get into that here a little bit later. But this one right here, Creamy Oat Milk Latte. I feel like the name is very deceiving. Yeah, I mean, there's no latte here. Cinnamon oat milk, melted butter, vanilla cake, and warm maple syrup. This is about that buttery maple syrup. It's very, very buttery. It says vanilla cake. I could maybe get that a little bit here. So it's probably the same cakiness that you'll find in their coconut cake fragrance that they have. That type of cake where it's not just full-on cakiness, but it's a little bit. It has more of a creaminess to it though. Not real cakey by any means, but it's really nothing to do with oat milk or a latte or anything like that. But yeah, this is just such a buttery maple syrup. Just very much fall fragrance that is very much centered around maple. So if you're not a huge fan of maple, probably one to steer clear of. But if you're thinking that name is really going to come through, wouldn't get your hopes up as far as that goes. But it's a really good one that I really enjoyed. Creamy Oat Milk Latte. Name aside, as far as how deceiving that is, that's a really good one. And the next one I have, probably my number 2 as far as this list goes. This one right here, Moldberry Cobbler. And another one of those Thanksgiving drop releases last year, came out later in fall. Boy, I really get that cobbler here. It smells like a blackberry cobbler. That is so delicious. Okay, the notes on this are mold berries. That's gonna be blackberry mostly. Raspberry jam, spiced maple, and cobbler crust. I could get everything there except for the maple. There is a little bit of a spiciness to it. Oh man, it's a perfect cobbler note. I don't really know that they've ever done anything that noticeably cobbler before. And they've come out with plenty of pie fragrances, even cobblers before, things in this genre, but have never really used this type of bakery here, this type of pie. I'm kind of wondering why they didn't do that with their apple pie fragrance that they had come out. I'm not talking about this one, Spiced Apple Crumb, not that one. It was another apple pie, and there was really lacking a real big pie note in that one. That would have been perfect, the cobbler note here for that one. But that's great. That's perfect. That is the perfect blackberry pie for maybe something like Thanksgiving or even leading into Christmas. Love that one. One of their best cobbler notes that really they've ever done before. And the last one I have here, my clear number 1 from this list. Last year, new fragrances from 2023. This one right here, Enchanted Pumpkin Wine. Now, before I get into this one, let's read the notes. Pumpkin, mulled wine, nutmeg, and cinnamon vanilla. One thing that is noticeably lacking here in the notes is apple. I'm a huge apple lover. There is apple in this candle, I tell you what. And even that name, again, we've kind of got a little bit of a misleading name. Enchanted Pumpkin Wine, okay. I mean, if you called this pumpkin apple cider, I'd believe you. I'd believe that before Enchanted Pumpkin Wine. But again, we want to kind of spruce the name up a little bit and make this sound a little bit fancier than maybe it actually is. Hey, I'd be perfectly fine with a pumpkin apple cider. That's really what comes through for me here. Of course, there is no apple mentioned here. It says mulled wine, and wine is in the name of the candle. I'm not really getting wine from this at all. Cider really comes through. As a matter of fact, they've never done this before, but pumpkin apple from Bath & Body Works, I'd say this is the closest thing that we've seen from HomeWorx to that candle. And I think this candle might still be available. I've seen it at discounted prices on the HomeWorx shop website. Everything that I have here, I think this is the one that might still be available. If you're one of those people that believe in old stock, you know, the candles from HomeWorx need to sit around for a while and cure a little bit, think about this one, because last year I noticed that it had a lot of kind of lukewarm reviews as far as throw goes. This one threw really well for me. And the batch code for me is F230507 on both of the candles that I have of this fragrance. It's thrown exceptionally well, probably a 7 or so. I mean, if not more at times. And for someone that has complained quite a bit this spring about HomeWorx's throw, yeah, that really took me by surprise. I've actually lit it up this year too, this summer. It's did really, really well. So if you're a believer in the HomeWorx candles, have to sit around a while. Now I know the new candles you buy this year that are new stock are not gonna have that chance, but there are several fall candles on their website right now. If you're kind of in that mood for fall fragrance and you're really excited about things moving forward into the fall months, I would think about purchasing some of that old stock because it's been sitting around a little bit. And a few of those candles that I have right offhand here are this one right here, Spiced Vanilla Pumpkin. I know this one was always a huge thrower. Of course, that's not in this video. It's not a new fragrance. This one right here, love this one, Fall Farm Stand. That's another one that is currently available on the website. There are a bunch of others too for fall that they still have left over. I know Harvest Leaves, a fan favorite, is on there. And then, of course, this one right here, Enchanted Pumpkin Wine, which is my #1 fragrance last year for fall from HomeWorx. That was a great one, guys, and that is #1 in this list. So there you guys have it. That's my top 5 fall fragrances from HomeWorx for 2023. Just trying to lead into new content, new product here on the channel for 2024. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.